Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'll be showing you how to make this front twist gown. Because of the sleeve of this gown, you won't be folding your paper. You will need a full paper for this, and I also went ahead to add at the end of my paper to make up for the length of my gown. Then I'll go ahead to take from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 11 inches, to my under bust point 15 inches, to my waist, which is 18 inches. Then I will take from my waist to my hip, which is 9 inches. So now I'm just going in to label these lines just so we know which is which. For my neck, I went ahead to take 3 inches, and for my neck depth, I went ahead to take 7 inches. And then I'm going to make an intersection there and go ahead with my pattern master, rule a curved V line, not too sharp, okay? And then I'm going to take my shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches, and right there where I marked 7 inches, I am going to measure 15 inches, which is going to be the length of my sleeve. So I decided to turn my paper just so I make this more clear. So right there where I marked 15 inches, which is going to be the length of my sleeve, I am going to come down by half an inch and connect it right back to the neck, just so I get that slope at the shoulder side. And so the next thing I'm doing right now is take the quarter of my round measurement. I went ahead to take the quarter of the round measurement of my bust, and there for my under bust, also making sure that I add my stitching allowance as I am taking these measurements. So I also took for my waist and also took for my hip. Then I'll go ahead and connect these dots together. So right here, I marked the length of my gown. This gown is going to be a 3/4 gown. For the quarter of the round measurement, I went ahead to remove 1 inch of what I marked for the hip. Then I went ahead to also connect from my hip to the length of the gown. So the next thing I'm going to do now is join my sleeve to the rest of the bodice. So for my sleeve, I am going to take 8 inches roundness, and then I'm going to be joining it to my bust, okay? We're going to be joining it with a little curve to your bust. Then the next thing right now is take my bust pan, just so we go in and take our darts. So at my waist, I am going to come out by half an inch on both sides, then connect it to my bust point and to my hip. So for this gown, I am not going to be coming down at my bust point. I'm going to connect it I'm going to be connecting the dart from my waist right to my bust point. Then also for my hip, I am going to be connecting from my waist right there to my hip, okay? I'm not going to be coming up by half an inch like I do for my other tutorials. So the next thing I'm going to do now is take my side dart, and you're going to be measuring this difference from the bust line to where it reaches at the side where you've taken your side measurements, and then you're going to connect that right back to the bust pan at your bust point. Then the next thing I'm going to do is divide this at the waist, because our front twist is going to be at the waist part of this gown. So now the next thing we are going to do is from this place where we've taken our dart, okay, from that point where we've taken our dart at the bust line, we are going to be drawing a diagonal line that is going to cross the waist up to the shoulder. Okay, you want to place the ruler in such a way that the line is going to pass through that bust dart and go down to the waist and also up to the shoulder. All right, and so the next thing you want to do is slash that line that crosses from the waist to the bust dart, okay, but not all through, just to that point and leave it. And then the next thing is take one leg of the dart and slash it. The first leg of the dart, we're going to be slashing that to the bust dart also, and you also stop there. And so we are going to be covering these darts now. So when we are done with slashing this, we'll be able to cover that waist dart. So the next thing we are going to do now is cover our side dart. So now we are going to be slashing our side dart back to that bust dart. Okay, so everything you are slashing goes back to the bust dart. So we're going to be slashing this our side dart back to the bust dart, and then we are going to cover our side dart. So after covering the darts, the next thing you want to do is slash this diagonal line all through to the shoulder, but make sure that you don't divide it. Just slash it to the shoulder and leave a little joining there. And so the next thing we are going to do now is to spread this on a paper. So I'm going to use a brown paper just so it is going to look more clear. And then for these 2 points at our waist, you want to make sure that it is in a straight line. Okay, so if you will notice that when you are done with, or when you are spreading this, it's going to be moving to one side. Make sure that it is in a straight line. You can use your ruler to make sure that it's in a straight line. So I also went ahead to spread these by 10 inches. Okay, so these 2 points now, the difference between them is 10 inches. Then you also want to go ahead and use a sellotape or a pin to hold these in place. So I'm just going ahead to trim out the excesses of the brown paper just so this looks more clear. So I went ahead to place this on the floor to show the full view. The next thing I'm going to do is trace out the down part of my gown. And so the reason why I gave a bit of allowance at my waist part is because of the dart. Okay, I didn't replace the dart I took out from there, so I went ahead to add it while I was cutting out. So like we did for the top part of this gown, we are going to be ruling a diagonal line that crosses from the waist down to the hip dart and then roll it down. You want to make sure that this line crosses the hip dart, okay, and also it comes from that waist part because we're going to be aligning it with the top part of the gown. Then you want to go ahead and slash this, making sure that you don't slash it all through. So like we did for the top part of this gown, we are going to be covering the waist dart, and you want to go ahead to slash the next dart. After you're done cutting the diagonal line, the next dart leg that follows it, you slash it open and then you just use it to cover the waist dart. So now this is what we have, and then just like we did for the top part, we are going to be spreading this, and for spreading this we are going to be joining it to the top. So this is what I mean. You are going to be aligning this to the top part that you've already spread. And remember, I spread mine by 10 inches, okay? So I'm just going to align it, and I'm also going to make sure that it is straight, okay? Just make sure that those 2 points are straight. It doesn't matter if the skirt is going to one side. Just make sure that these 2 points here are straight. And so this is what we have. You want to go ahead and trim off the excess brown paper or the excesses of the paper that you spread on. This is the material that I'm going to be using. My material wasn't enough in length when I placed my pattern paper on it. It wasn't enough, so I had to reduce the length of my sleeve, and also I also reduced the length of my gown. So this material is actually just 2 yards, okay? So if you're making this dress, you want to use up to 4 yards. To be on the safe side, you can just go with 5 yards, okay? So this is what the front part of this gown is looking like. For the neck depth of the gown, you want to go ahead and notch it or mark it. This is going to be very useful when we are bringing all our pieces together. So for the back part of the gown is just your basic border, is nothing serious, nothing different. If your gown is not, if your material is not stretchy, you want to go ahead and add your zipper allowance, okay? So this is the front part of the gown, and this is the waist part. We are going to be folding it. If you have a weaving machine, you can go ahead and weave this first. Then you want to hold one part together, all right? It can be the left or the right part. Stitch it together and leave a little opening, all right? So I went ahead to do this for the right part of this gown. You can do it for the left or for the right, anyone. So I've gone ahead to hold the waist parts together. I folded it first and leaving a tiny space open. So what you want to do is take the other part of the gown and push it through that opening, all right? So now this is going to form that twist, all right? So you want to take the other part of the gown and pass it through that little opening that you left. You want to go ahead to arrange this very well. Make sure that the place where you marked the length or the depth of your neck aligns together, and then also make sure that the waist part of the other side that you pass through aligns together. So the next thing we are going to do now is hold these together, right? Stitch it together. When you're done with passing it through that opening, you go ahead and stitch it together. So this is what it looks like when I was done stitching the both sides. You can see from the back side, this is how it looks like, and you see that our twist is already looking beautiful. So for the center part of this gown, I am going to be stitching it from where my neck depth started, all right? I'm going to be stitching it close to the twist, and also I'm going to be stitching the down part and stopping where the slit of this gown started. So this is what it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do is turn the front and the back neck with it facing, and also go ahead and pin this together and just hold it by the sides. Go ahead and also add a zipper if yours is going to be having a zipper, and finish up raw edges with your weaving machine. I couldn't iron these because there was no light. Nigeria, my country, but this is what it was looking like. I would say I don't really like the material that I used, because honestly I was just testing waters, trying to figure out how to even make this style. So I used a very inferior material, but I love that it came out nice at my first try. So I'm definitely going to be doing this style again with a better material. I hope that you love this tutorial and you enjoyed it. Please comment down below any suggestions that you have, any questions that you have. Thank you for watching. Bye.